I'm Realtor Deb Tomorrow, and this is At Home in Bloomington, brought to you by Karen Rastel, Ruoff Home Mortgage. We profile the people, places, and resources that make Bloomington, Bloomington, and help you live your best life. At Home in Bloomington.
Hello, and welcome to At Home in Bloomington. I'm your host, Realtor Deb Tomorrow, joined as always by the lovely Miss Karen Rastel, best damn lender in the state of Indiana. Hello.
Hello, hello.
I think I'm going to start announcing, like at the beginning of the shows, when we're recording this.
Okay.
Because I think that's good for context. I've been listening to some other podcasts, and they do that because, you know, one of the things we like about podcasts is this idea that they're evergreen and that you can listen to them 2 years from now, and most of the information is still really pertinent.
Right.
But I think sometimes it's helpful to have a little bit of context.
Yeah, so you're going to announce the date?
Well, just in general. Like it's November of 2019 when we're recording this show.
Yes. And it's freezing today.
I'm cold and cranky.
Yeah.
I Googled yesterday battery-operated heated sweaters.
Did you find something?
There's hoodies on Amazon, but they're $140, which I think is kind of crazy for a hoodie. I could just stick a heating pad down my pants or something.
Yeah,
I mean, accomplish the same thing.
With what were those things called? The Snuggie?
Oh, the Snuggie?
Right. I went to a Rosie O'Donnell show. Remember she had a talk show for like a minute?
Yeah.
It was in the Harpo studio.
Oh,
that's my
Oprah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That was the giveaway at the end of that.
A Snuggie?
A Snuggie. And
that's
I don't even
classy.
know where mine is. Yeah. But no, you can just walk around in a Snuggie.
I have a leopard print Snuggie.
That's fancy.
When I lay in bed, I will put my bathrobe on backwards, so my arms are like thick and covered, like
yes,
so that I can read a book or whatever. Okay, that's not what today's show is all about. But anyways, all right, there we go. Another thing to get off topic. So today I'm excited about this show because it actually has a very personal slant for me. It's something that I actually, and you probably don't know this.
Probably not.
Shockingly.
Shocking.
I was involved with this I looked it up this morning.
Okay.
7 years.
Okay.
And 7 years.
With the organization or the business or?
It's a property.
It's a property.
Okay. I basically was involved in selling for 7 years until this lovely creature stepped up to the plate.
So are you saying it took 7 years to find the right buyer?
Yes.
Is that what we're saying?
It took 7 years to find the right buyer for this property. So I know you know this. I was involved with Bloomington Restorations. I have always been involved with them for a long time. And they're a local nonprofit. Definitely look into them. They help restore and save old homes.
Right.
And they do some really cool things. Well, way back in, I don't even know when, probably 2009 or 10. Probably 2009, to be honest. Sycamore Land Trust, who is a past guest of ours, got some property, several hundred acres on the west side. And there was a house on the property. And Sycamore Land Trust says, we don't really do houses. So they cut off 3.4 acres for this house. It was and I'll let our guests tell more about the house, but it was not in good shape at all. But it was historic and you could see the potential.
Okay.
And went to Bloomington Restorations. Sycamore Land Trust went to Bloomington Restorations and said, hey, do you want this house? And they're like, we don't really have money to buy it, but if we can find a buyer, then we'd love to be able to save this house. So they tried that for a year, tried to find a buyer. And the Sycamore Land Trust finally said, look, we've got to move on. We can't keep dealing with this house. So do you want to buy it or and so Bloomington Restorations came up with the money. They bought it with the intention of turning around and sell it to restore it.
Okay.
So that was, and then they came to me and they said, will you list this? And I'm like, sure. Oh, little did I know 7 years later. So I originally listed it on December 7th, a day which will live in infamy. 2010 was when I listed it. And I could show you the listing pictures. They're crazy. And we eventually sold that on August of 2012. So almost 2 years later.
Okay.
We sold it on contract to a family who wanted to restore it. It was a big, big, big restoration project, which we're going to hear about. Eventually they kind of said, we're in over our heads and we can't do this. And they gave the house back to Bloomington Restorations. Yeah. Okay. So May of 2016, I enter back into the picture and list the house again. And sometime in January of 2017, an angel before us, who I thought was crazy, to be honest. When she first started emailing me about this house, I thought, I don't know if this chick knows what she understands what she's getting into. She's crazy. I think I was suspicious all the way up until closing, to be honest with you. I was like, I don't know, but whatever. And so Michelle and Darren Cardwell bought the house, and Michelle is with us today to tell us what she did with it.
Okay.
So if there is anyone, I saw on Facebook last night that someone posted that House Hunters International House Hunters was in town. Like the HGTV show. They were filming, where the couple sits and they go, let's see, we've got 3 choices. Which one can we agree to not, blah, 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 whatever. Right. They were filming that at Lenny's. And so I thought, gosh, if anyone deserves an HGTV show in Bloomington, it's Michelle and Darren. Would you agree with that?
We have been told that.
You're locally famous. We should make you nationally famous. So Karen, while Michelle tells her story, I've got pictures from the website that you can flip through because I want you to kind of get some visuals. That's going to be our hardest part with this show is that so much of it is visual. So we're going to try and tell the story, but this is the before and after. Okay. So what possessed you?
Well, Darren and I flipped houses for a living. I was a real estate broker, as you know, and we were at a point where we needed to get our next project. Every house that we had done up to date someone had walked up to the door, knocked on it and said, hey, do you want to buy my house? And we had ran out of houses. So I was looking on the MLS for a house to flip and been in love with that house for years.
Yeah.
Probably the whole 7 years that you were trying to sell it. And so I said, let's take a look at it. We walk in the door. My husband says, absolutely not happening.
I can see why. I'm looking at these pictures right now.
The before and after pictures are,
we walked in the door and we were standing on rafters, floor joists actually, and looking into about 3 to 4 feet of water in the basement.
Yes.
Walking on pick boards and looking at wallpaper falling off the ceiling.
Yep.
Doors that were just like whopper jawed because they had been damaged by water for many, many years. It was very, very daunting, to say the least. Myself, I'm standing in the kitchen looking at these beautiful windows and going, oh my gosh, isn't it beautiful?
And you've got to see that. Yeah, that kitchen picture was crazy. There were certainly places in that house that I felt more comfortable standing than others. So whenever I would show it, I would go in and kind of make a beeline. And what was funny was, to me, the upstairs felt better and the staircase. So I always stood at the bottom of the stairs. That was just kind of my safe spot. That I was like, I'm not going to fall through anything here. This feels stable and secure. So did you buy it with the intention of just flipping it? Or what did you buy it with the intention of?
Absolutely. Bought it with the intention to flip it. And my intention was, hey, let's flip this house, babe. Then let's go to Costa Rica and open a bed and breakfast.
Okay.
He didn't fall for that one either.
No.
So I know. So along the way, I said, well, what if we turn this into a bed and breakfast? I mean, we've got the, IU here. This is lovely Bloomington. There's people coming all the time. Let's just turn this into a bed and breakfast here. Again, nope, not happening. 2 or 3 months later, he comes back and says, okay, we can do it. I said, do what? He says, we can do a bed and breakfast. I flipped out my phone, posted on social media, no takebacks. So that's how we got to the bed and breakfast part. And that's where we are now.
And this is on the west side.
So this is the Beaumont House, which is just a few miles past your home, Karen. Do you know how many miles past Ivy Tech on 3rd Street?
Not exactly past Ivy Tech, probably 2 miles.
Yeah, okay. 2 or 3 miles past Ivy Tech. So 3rd Street turns into State Road 48. You go past Garrison Chapel, and it's just out there a little ways. It's actually right past Vernal Pike, if you know that Vernal Pike hooks into 48 out there.
Is that 48 or is that 43?
That's 48.
Is it? Why do I get this?
Because if you keep going, it turns into 43.
Okay. All right.
We're 5 miles from I-69.
Yeah. Okay. So really, really close to town, but feels like you're a world away. And
take the scenic route home tonight.
There you go. Yep, definitely. Okay. It's amazing. One of the things I noticed, whenever I would go out there to show the property, I always slammed on my brakes because it was so overgrown. You would miss this house. And it's this like giant, 3,500 square foot white house that you think you should be able to see, but it was so overgrown. And now you can see it coming down the road. It's amazing. And I love that. So you've been flipping homes, and then you're like, hey, okay. So in February of 2017, you decide we're going to do this. we're going to flip it. And then some point, during the summer, you decided you're going to go for the bed and breakfast?
I would say by the time that we actually started on it, we bought it February 14th, 2017, which was like, oh, hey, happy Valentine's Day. And we didn't actually start working on it until May. Okay. Which there we just started clearing the ground, like you said, because we needed to be able to even see it. Yeah. And so during that time that we had the conversation, and I'd say by the time we started it really on that house in June, that we had that intention. Had I not made that decision, it wouldn't have taken the turn that it did to become a 5-bedroom, 5-bath home. Right. I wouldn't have flipped it into that.
In that way. So it's got 5 suites, 5 guest suites.
Going back to the condition of the house when you bought it, was that a normal, to buy a distressed property like that? Was that normally what you guys were doing, flipping these previous homes?
We were flipping homes that basically were about to be tore down.
Okay.
Saving homes and giving them a new family.
Gotcha.
That was my love.
And I think that is one of the themes. I certainly want to make it a theme of today's show, is this saving things from landfill, reusing things. I love some of the things, and I guess I had a note here because I want to make sure we talked about it, but there are all kinds of pieces of furniture throughout the house. And it sounds like that's a super fun hobby as well as useful.
Definitely a hobby. Now that I'm not flipping houses, I could say I flip furniture. So I definitely am a reuser. I reuse all types of things throughout the house. We took the roof off of one section, and it is now a part of a partition or a fence, if you will. We've reused different things for planters. I mean, just all throughout the house, we've used different pieces of wood doors to make vanities, all kinds of furniture. Multiple pieces throughout have just been reused.
Your newest project, and I'm kind of jumping around here a little bit, but you're building a chapel, and we're going to talk about a wedding chapel because it's now becoming an event venue. But one of the coolest reuses that's going to be in there, can you tell us about that?
Well, I don't know exactly which one you're talking about.
I know there are a couple.
I have several. Yeah. Of reuses in the wedding chapel, we have many. I went all the way to Cincinnati to actually pick up windows that are wavy glass windows that match the chapel or that match the house, excuse me. And those were literally being taken out of the house as I was picking them up, because to find the amount of windows that I needed that all were the same size, I had to find someone that was replacing all their windows. So I brought those back from Cincinnati. Then I found a original stained glass door for the front door that was from a church, to 12-foot stained glass windows that were from a different church that we picked up and brought those. And those are in the chapel as well. And then I went to Pennsylvania, into the hills of Pennsylvania, to a Pentecostal church where I picked up the original 16 pews from out of their sanctuary. They had just had service on them on Sunday, and I picked them up and brought them all the way back. And
they were still warm.
Still warm. And they were very sturdy, I was told, because they stood on them often.
Oh, yeah. And they're probably, did you check them for snakes before? Pentecostal church from the hills might have some, yeah.
I'm not sure, but they are very heavy.
How long are they?
They're 10 foot.
Okay, so you were able to get them on a trailer?
We actually had to disassemble every single one.
Oh, my gosh.
Bring them back, reassemble them, and they're in a friend of ours antique barn.
Oh, my gosh. So that's cool. And then the other one that I thought was really interesting is the Harp Case.
Oh, yes. I was a friend of ours, sent a message and said, hey, I'm doing a side job. Found this thing here that these people want to get out of their garage. And
call Michelle.
Yeah, do you want it? He's texting my husband. Darren shows it to me. And I said, of course I want it. Yeah. And he goes, what are you going to do with that? So it's an harp case from Sweden. The lady had her harps shipped over in 1993 in this beautiful wooden case. And I'm turning it into a wardrobe for the men's dressing room.
So the chapel, I guess we can jump to that, because not only do they have the bed and breakfast, but they're building this chapel that'll be weddings in the spring of 2020, firing up. But it's got, you walk in and there's a like bride dressing room, groom dressing room, bathrooms, all very thoughtfully set up. Like the bride dressing room has an attached bathroom, so she doesn't have to come out and be seen, and that kind of thing that opens up into the chapel space.
We've always talked about when we have creative people on this show, and I'm just like, I would never look at something like that and go, okay, I'm going to convert that into something like a wardrobe.
Right.
Like I can only imagine how large this case is.
I'll have to show you. I went to a craft market thing over, was it last weekend? My weekends are running together. But there was a gentleman there who tunes pianos. And then he also makes furniture out of old pianos that kind of can't be salvaged. And he had a bathroom vanity from a piano. I was like, that. I took a picture. It's the coolest thing. So yeah, that's the kind of vibe. And that's the kind of, that's why I'm saying I think you need an HGTV show to show us the flea market finds and how you turn all those things. It's really cool. Tell us a little bit about the history of the property and why it's called the Beaumont House.
So the Beaumont House was originally built as part of the Richland Church that's just across the street, kind of catty corner. And it was built by a gentleman named Thomas Nesbitt as part of the congregation, part of the church property. The Beaumonts, it was named after the Beaumonts because they bought it in 1916 and lived there till 1993.
Okay.
And they actually owned that house and the next house up, which is on the other side of Arnold Pike, and over 1,000 acres there. So lucky for us, many people in the area have come by and give us
the stories,
give us stories, that kind of thing. Even the grandkids of the Beaumonts have been there to fill in pieces for us and bring us pictures and all of that kind of thing. And everyone around there called that the Beaumont Corner.
Okay.
It was supposedly in the time that the Beaumonts had it, a very pristine property, very well kept, just, lovely. And it was a farm. It was a working farm. Many people have come by there and said, I worked for the Beaumonts. I helped, get crops out of the field or that type of thing. And so we just thought that because everyone recognized it as the Beaumont Corner and that they had done such a lovely job for the community and that kind of thing, that we wanted to honor their family name and call it the Beaumont House.
Which is really lovely and not something I knew in the 7 years. I think I had heard the name Frida Beaumont at some point, and I think someone had come by the house at one point in time when I was there, but I didn't really know the history on that. So that's interesting. Did you get most of that information from just neighbors coming by and telling you?
Well, we took it upon ourselves to get the house locally designated historic.
Okay.
So the house is now on the county historic register. And so to do that, you have to research all of the history. So I did a lot of research with, just records and things like that. But we were fortunate to get a hold of a book from the Richland Township or the Richland Church there. And it tells in beautiful penmanship the history of the church and all of the things that up until the time that the Beaumonts took it. And so that was pretty interesting. And then the Beaumonts themselves have come by and given us a lot of history. One of the Beaumont's daughters just lives within like a half a mile from us.
Oh, nice.
So
in the area.
I bet it was probably tough for the family members and the people that have worked there to see that property get to the condition it was before you guys purchased it. So.
Absolutely. We had so many people stopping while we were trying to do construction, wanting to see inside, wanting to take a tour. I was telling Deb that at the end, I just literally had to say, no, you're going to have to wait till the open house because we were up to like 2 hours worth of tours every day. And I was just having to say, I can't get this done.
Right.
if I can't get to work.
Right.
That's amazing. Well, when we come back, we're going to talk about some of the amenities, what is adjoining, which is kind of interesting, the property as well, and what the future holds and what that looks like. So stick around. You are at home in Bloomington.
Hi, this is Karen Rastel with Ruoff Home Mortgage. Did you know we are on the cutting edge of technology when it comes to applying for a mortgage? Loan Butler was created with you in mind. It's a fast, convenient, and secure way to apply online for a mortgage loan. It reduces the amount of paperwork and time for you. Save a tree and contact me today at 812-606-7653 for more details. Ruoff Home Mortgage is an Indiana corporation licensed by the Indiana Department of Financial Institutions. This is not an offer for extension of credit or a commitment to lend. All loans must satisfy company underwriting guidelines. Equal housing lender. NMLS number 141868.
This is your Real Estate Real List. Practical advice on buying and selling real estate based on my experience closing over 800 home sales. We've all heard the old adage, if it looks too good to be true, it probably is. No statement is more accurate than for real estate. We all want the steal of the century or to find a way to circumvent costs associated with buying or selling real estate. But I'm here to break it to you, if it looks too good to be true, it usually is. Here are some examples. Number 1, discount real estate brokerages. Be sure you read the fine print and ask lots of questions. Usually discount brokerages also mean fewer services. Think realistically about if you want to manage your own showings, feedback, and negotiations on the sale of your home, or if you're okay with being limited on the number of homes you can go look at when buying. There's almost always a limitation with discounted brokerage services. Number 2, getting cash back to make renovations on a home. HGTV makes it look super easy to get cash back to make home renovations, but it's not that simple. Some loan types won't allow it at all. Some lenders offer special programs, but at higher interest rates or closing costs. And many require you to use pre-approved contractors. There are options for adding in renovation money to mortgages, but it's not a given or a slam dunk. If you think this is the route you want to go, you'll want to start talking with lenders before you even start looking to find one that offers a program that works for you. And number 3, secret foreclosures. Almost weekly, I get contacted by someone looking for a foreclosure that they saw on a website that has an incomplete address. And to get the complete address, you have to pay a membership fee. Well, there are no secret foreclosures out there. If a bank has foreclosed on a home and taken the home back, it is advertised near and far, loud and clear. They want to sell that home. Secret marketing and making it hard to find the house or the listing is probably the worst marketing plan in the world. These websites are simply too good to be true. Increase your real estate consumer IQ by listening to my Real Real Estate Today podcast, episode 17, to hear more about too good to be true real estate stories. You can find it on iTunes, my YouTube channel, and at www.athomeinbloomington.com.
My name is Brittany, and Deb Tomorrow is my realtor. She helped me buy my first home. I enjoyed working with Deb because she was patient, thorough, and made the experience fun. Deb should be your realtor too. And now, back to the show.
Welcome back to At Home in Bloomington and our guest, Michelle Cardwell of the Beaumont House. Before we get back to Michelle, I do want to throw back to episode 17, which was when we talked with the crew from Sculpture Trails in Greene County, which we love that. And they're just about 10 miles from the Beaumont House. So that's why I wanted to kind of tie these shows together because I think they make a great pair. And Michelle said that when some of the artists who come in July to do the workshops at
They come
Sculpture
from all
Trails,
over.
they stay at the Beaumont House.
Awesome.
Because it's probably the closest place you can stay.
Right.
And you can get to Bloomington, just a few miles away. So I think that's great. I have this vision of like out of town guests, and maybe you don't have room in your house, or maybe there'll be more peace in the world if they don't stay with you. They could stay at the Beaumont House. They could go hang out at the Sculpture Trails one afternoon. And then meet you for dinner on the west side of Bloomington.
On the west side.
Doesn't that sound good, Karen?
It does. It's more, I feel like doing all of that as well, especially on the west side, because I've always been a west side girl, but
right.
I feel like doing things like that, you're having an experience versus just coming to Bloomington to visit, or I'm going to stay in this hotel and then we're going to go do the normal things that most visitors come to Bloomington for, but
I know
it's
whenever,
fantastic.
all my relatives live out of town, like way far out, like Texas and California. So when they come to visit, I'm always like, now I want them to come visit. And before I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do with you. But ever since we've been doing this show, I'm like, come, I got ideas. I got a list.
Yes.
So I'm going to put you in the Beaumont House for a night, and then you go to the Sculpture Trails. So, okay. So, we've got, Michelle, tell us again, like, what are the buildings on the property?
At this time, we have the original house, which is now the bed and breakfast. We have a pavilion, and in the pavilion, we do outdoor movies. You can rent that for events, things like that. And then we are building the wedding chapel now. That will be done probably in about 30 to 60 days.
Nice. And you've already got weddings booked in
do.
it, so you better get it done, right?
We do.
And then, and you also, in addition to the wedding venue, and you can provide an officiant, a wedding officiant.
Yes,
and
we have the wedding officiant,
Pastor Paul.
Pastor Paul, and he loves his job.
I bet he does. Paul's an old client of mine. So, and then you've got connections with all the typical wedding vendors.
Yes,
so you can really help plan it.
We have all sorts of vendors, cakes, caterers, florists, whatever you need, we can put you in touch with people, help you with people that have been to our venue before, who are familiar with it, and just help you walk through the process. Everything from shuttle buses to photographers. So,
And what size weddings can you accommodate?
right now, somewhere between 120, 150 people.
Okay. I think that's a pretty good size, right?
I think so.
I had 10 the one time I got married, so I don't have a great frame of reference.
Well, we paid for ours,
Yeah.
And the majority of it. And so when we started looking at that list, we were like, yeah, we need to pare that back.
I don't
So
like you that much.
I think we started at like 200 because you're just inviting everybody,
Yeah.
but it's like, no, it was really more like around 120-ish.
Which
So
I think is a pretty typical.
it's a lot of
And
people.
a lot of people think that they want like you to invite everyone. And what a lot of people also don't realize is not everyone is going to show up.
Yeah, that's true. And then the other thing I wanted to point out in terms of, this is all situated on 3.4 acres, but you are adjacent to Sycamore Land Trust. I think it's about 230 acres. Tell us about what that property is.
So, like you had said in the beginning, the property was donated by Sycamore Land Trust and Bloomington Restorations working together. And Sycamore Land Trust is a nature preserve behind us that has walking trails, very nice walking trails. You feel like you're walking in McCormick's Creek State Park or Brown County State Park. We do help keep the trails mowed there, so they're very walkable. It's very, very nice just to get out, and it is right in our backyard. I mean, you can walk out our pavilion and walk into the trail and get right on that.
Yeah, 230 acres. There's also an old cemetery in there, which is really cool. That property, so the property was actually donated by a gentleman named Dave Porter. So they call it Porter West Preserve, I think is what they call it. So he probably bought it after the Beaumonts and had it for 10 years or so.
He did.
Okay, so tell us a little bit more about the bed and breakfast experience, because as soon as we went off the air at break, Karen was like, okay. She always says, I have questions. Because I think that everyone sort of has this very romantic notion of owning a bed and breakfast, and that it's very Hallmark movie kind of thing, which seriously, when you walk through your house, it's like, yeah, I could see a Hallmark movie being
So I
filmed
wouldn't
here.
have the notion of wanting to own one.
No?
But it would be wanting to go to one.
Okay.
Well,
you can go, but there's a lot of people who want to own them. Have you found that?
Oh, absolutely. If I had a dollar for everyone that said they wanted to do this, I might be a little richer.
Ready to go to Costa Rica.
Yeah. But for me, it's not bad. But it is a lot of work. It's pretty much every day. It's a 7-day-a-week thing. My husband and I do get up and make breakfast for everyone. We do a hot breakfast. Obviously, there's fruits and yogurts and things like that too. But we do get up and make a full hot breakfast every morning when we have guests, which is quite often. We also, obviously clean the rooms every day. And we do have the 5 bedrooms, 5 bathrooms. So that's a lot of cleaning, a lot of laundry.
Yep.
And then as well as keeping up with the outside of the house, we have a hot tub that we take care of as well. There's just a lot to take care of to keep 3.4 acres looking nice.
Right.
Whether it's mowing, raking, those types of things. And then there's our goats that are the attraction from whatever reason. We got those just as pets, but everyone seems to love the goats. And
well, now the goats served a purpose in the beginning.
Yes. The goats helped keep the property clear.
Yeah.
So when we started clearing the property, because Deb had said it was very overgrown.
Yes.
And when we started clearing the property, it's like, okay, we'll tether the goats out and the parts that we've already been to so that they can help keep that mowed, if you will, while we move forward and keep going on clearing other parts, because it was very overgrown. It was the goats couldn't even have gotten in there in the beginning. Yeah. So they served a purpose, and now they just get to live and be happy.
And then you also, your toiletries that you offer are made out of goat milk, not your goats, right? But,
right.
But so I love that kind of tie-in and that thread there.
Yes, we wanted to offer local products wherever we can. And the closest that we could get to with our products that we have in the rooms as far as toiletries come from Shelbyville, Indiana, from Bass Farms, and they are amazing. You'll just have to look at Bass Farms, and her story in itself is incredible. But they are made out of goat's milk, and they're local, and she makes those bed and breakfast sizes just for our rooms, the hotel size ones, just for us. I contacted her to make those. But
so nobody else in the world has, no other bed and breakfast, hotel, anything has these products?
Not at this time.
That's cool.
So it's really unique for us. And she loves that, we came to her and said, hey, we love your product so much. We would like for you to put those in our rooms. And we love working with them. They're a great small company. Love working with local people. Just like you had said, Sculpture Trail, we push people to go visit them all the time. We just, like being able to talk to our guests about where they can go that's local, and local restaurants, local wineries, all the things around that are local. And there's a lot more, like you said, than people realize out there that's local, places to go and a lot to do.
Cool stuff going on for sure. One of the things when I was reading through some online reviews, which are all really, really, 5-star ratings, is that people said, well, we meant to leave at 9:00, but we got to chatting at breakfast, and the breakfast is such an integral part of the experience. And I think Darren has probably told the story of like the construction and shown the before and after pictures. It seems like that's kind of his thing, right? He makes the bacon and then he shows the before and after pictures.
He makes the bacon, which gets a lot of raves.
Yep.
Everyone loves the bacon. But, yes, he makes the bacon, and then he will sit down, and we sit down with our guests most every time that they're there, and which is fun in itself, just to get to sit down at breakfast and talk to everyone, and everyone wants to know the story, and we get to go over, the renovation and show pictures and how we got from point A to point B.
Yeah. The pictures are, I want to encourage everyone to go, what's your website?
TheBeaumontHouse.com.
TheBeaumontHouse.com. They've got all the before and after pictures there, and I really want to encourage people, if you're listening to this, hit pause real quick and go and look at those pictures, because it really does tell the story, the side-by-sides. Some of them, it looks like a bomb has hit the house.
It looked like a bomb had hit the house.
Yeah, it was amazing. And there was spray paint on the floors and the woodwork. Oh my gosh. Most of it was painted.
Yes. It took 3 months to refinish the woodwork, and lots of stripping and lots of steel wool, denatured alcohol, long hours. And at that point, Darren was convinced we should just go ahead and paint it back white.
Yeah.
He said, just paint over.
Yeah. But, it made all the difference in the world. The staircase had been, which is, again, one of my favorite place in the house. That, and then the Beaumont suite, which is the upstairs front room, was my other favorite place. But the staircase had not been touched in terms of paint. And so it's like such a showcase in the center of the house.
It still hasn't been touched. All we did was clean it.
That's amazing. I don't know if that's like, to me, because I love old houses, I'm such a junkie for them. But when you think about staircases and people running their hands up and down that banister, and you get the natural oils, it's kind of, I guess, creepy, but it doesn't sound creepy. It's been conditioned by every human who's walked through that house.
I just think it's great to be like walking on the same flooring or whatever, or passing through a hallway that we know that's been there for 100 years or whatever. I think that's a cool aspect. I never really thought about touching the certain things and other people touching it.
Yeah.
That would kind of creep me out, but I like the feel that I'm entering into a space that's been used by so many people for decades.
Yeah.
That's what's cool.
Yeah. We talked about that a little bit with Nancy Hiller when she was on, about sort of that continuity with the past. What do you envision for the future?
Well, what we're hoping for, and I think we're trending that way with the wedding chapel. We're starting to book weddings, and with that, people are very excited about the potential to have guests, at least maybe some of the immediate party or immediate family, stay at the Belmont House as well. So that's something that we have a little unique, that we do have the bed and breakfast and the wedding chapel on the same property. With that combination, we're hoping to gear a little more towards weddings, at least during that wedding season.
Okay. And you are intending on building a reception hall at some point?
At some point, we are going to add a barn that will have a reception hall inside that.
So for now, reception's tents outside or the pavilion?
We use the pavilion mostly. We've had a few weddings there already.
Yeah.
And the weddings have been mostly on the lawn where we'll set them up, and it's really nice with arches and things like that. And then we use the pavilion for the reception, and it turns out really, really nice.
So we've just got a couple minutes left. I want to talk a little bit more about this renovation project because we know how much everybody loves to watch those renovation shows on TV. And Karen and I, for years now, with both podcasts that we've done, we're always like, it's not as easy as they make it look on TV. It takes more than a half an hour. So I'm sure you knew that going in. But what were some of the biggest surprises or, like stumbling blocks that you hit? I want to give people a dose of reality.
Well, the house still had its original shake, like the wood shake roof underneath multiple layers of shingles, underneath patches of metal.
Yeah.
And all of that was pretty much leaking down into one particular valley that all that water came then down a doorway and down onto the main hand-hewn 32-foot beam that supported the house. So our main challenge was getting that beam out, jacking the house up, and replacing that with a steel beam, and putting
Does
the house.
Does the beam run from the front of the house to the back of the house?
From the front to the back.
So think about that. They had to lift the house up a couple of inches so you could release this beam.
I'm still stuck
That's
on
crazy.
the original shaker.
The shingles
are
still under there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm trying to envision what that would even look like after years of layering other materials on top of it.
Hot mess.
Yeah. So we took all that off because that was probably tons of weight.
Yeah, right.
Before we jacked up the house.
Yeah.
But we did get a new roof on. That was our first priority, to get a new roof on to stop all the leaks. And then to do that beam was one of our biggest challenges. And we went under the house and put in many, many piers and jacked the house back up to get it as level as possible. And we'll tell you, it is still not completely level. There's just, after it sinks so far, it's just about impossible to get it back completely. But that was one of the biggest challenges. And then, as you mentioned, the trim, that was probably our second biggest challenge, because it is a very, detailed trim.
It is. It's not just like plain square baseboard. I mean, there is detail. There's corner pieces. There's the doors. Oh my gosh, there's some gorgeous doors. And
Yes. So if you've ever went to the dentist and had your teeth cleaned and they use those little picks, they make a similar one of those called a wood pick, and many hours of just scraping out grooves.
How did you not go insane? I would lose my mind doing
I'm
that.
a very patient person. And I'm one of those that's just step by step. And eventually, if you just keep going one foot in front of the other, you get to the end.
That's
so
awesome. One of the things that I know that I fought with all the time was that the basement, it had a basement, and it would fill with water. And we had a structural engineer come out. This was, 10 years ago. And they said, well, it's just below the water table, so it's just going to keep filling up. And we would try to put a sump pump in to pump the water out, but then someone would come into the house and steal the extension cord for the sump pump, and we'd be back to square one. So what did you end up doing with the basement?
The basement has been filled in with flowable fill, which is a form of concrete. But we did have it completely dry.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, I was able to get it completely dry and was going to keep it that way. But because it is in a part of the house is in the floodplain, we did have to fill that in per building requirements.
Because that would have been good storage.
Yeah, it would have been amazing storage, but that's okay.
Yeah.
It is all worked out. We just sit in awe of the house. Very blessed to have been able to do this project, and so happy to be able to share it with everyone that walks through our front door.
Yeah. So. Well, I really want to encourage people to go and drive by and stop. And you're doing tours now, right? People can stop. You're not in the middle of doing work and saying, stop, I can't show you the house. Because it really is an amazing, I don't know that do you know an exact age of the house?
Well, we were told 1890 by Bloomington Restorations when we purchased the house. We have talked to the lady next door who says she has records of both houses being built, and she says it is 1869.
Okay.
We have not seen those records from her yet. But I do believe it's older than 1890. So somewhere between 1869 and 1890. So late 1800s.
Just amazing, because we just don't have a lot left like that. And it's gorgeous. It's our own little Hallmark movie.
I can't wait to drive out there now.
I know, right?
I'm sure we'll be headed that way this weekend.
So the website is thebeaumonthouse.com. You can book the hotel rooms through there.
Absolutely.
And And then you can also contact that way if you've got questions about weddings, get it scheduled. Or if you're doing a class reunion or something like that, you've done events like that. So there's all kinds of girls' getaways. So definitely take a look at that.
We have great anniversary packages.
Oh, yeah, because you do have, like, when you book a room, then you can add on bottles of wine and picnic baskets and, stuff like that. So I think that's really cool as well. So awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
So glad that we touched base and I got to revisit.
I'm glad I got to buy the house from you after 7 years.
Only 7 years. Actually, it was really nice for marketing. I picked up a lot of clients off that house because they would come and I'd be like, they're like, oh, this is a big project. I'm like, yeah, let me show you something else. It worked really well for me in that I missed it when we resold it. But anyways, so thebelmonthouse.com, check it out. And we will be back with another episode. You are at home in Bloomington.
Got a show idea? I'd love to hear it. And be sure to contact me for all your real estate needs and questions too. You can email me at deb@realrealestatetoday.com and follow me on Facebook at Deb Tomorrow Realtor. To contact Karen Rastel for all your mortgage needs, call 812-606-7653 or log on to ruoff.com and go to the Bloomington Center. Thanks to all the Bloomington people who make production of At Home in Bloomington possible. Special thanks to superstar producer Rachel G. Gregorio, digital guru Cynthia Hogan at Monster Digital Marketing for website design and hosting, and video genius Wes Lasher in the production house for engineering the show.